Oh boy. Are we recording? Are we actually recording this time? I want to start by saying thank you for being here. I'm sorry that I haven't put out a video sooner. This is honestly the third time that I'm recording this video. The first time was late last night. I was a little drunk, not too happy with the results. Um, and then this morning, I spoke without hitting record for roughly 35 minutes. So it is around 12:30. We're about 6 hours away from the start of the early prelims of UFC 296, and we're gonna talk about it. So hopefully the YouTube algorithm gods are kind and push this video out to whom it may concern before the fights start. But it's 12:20. We're gonna try to make this quick, get this up, and let's get into it. Before I start, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps so much, and I will forever be indebted to you for that. Um, let's start at the top. Um, One that I would suggest leaving off of the parlay. 13-1 Martin Budai faces 11-0 Shamil Gaziev. Um, this one's sort of up in the air. Martin Budai uh, has proven himself in his last few fights against some mid-tier heavyweights. He has been showing some holes in his game, of course. He does get taken down sometimes, and he's not the best off his back. Um, and he sort of keeps his chin up on the retreat sometimes. Mind you, he has shown that he has a spectacular chin, but I'm a little bit worried that maybe the reach of Gadziev is going to allow for like a connection maybe at the end of his retreat. Maybe underestimating the reach could get him into some trouble if he chooses to keep that sort of uh, straight back retreat tendency. Um, my heart's saying Martin Budai, fellow gamer, um, but I think Shamil's going to give him a run for his money here. Shamil also has shown some holes in his striking, offense and defense, and his ground game. He's good at getting fights to the ground, but from what I've seen, not so great doing anything with it. Next, Andre Fili, Lucas Almeida. Fili, a mainstay of the UFC in general for the last like going on 10 years, I think. But he's fighting Lucas Almeida, less experienced, but less miles. They're both around the same age, but Lucas Almeida's looked really good. He's got knockout power. He KO'd Mike Trezano, I think, in his second last fight. Um, I'm going with Almeida for this one. We move on to Tagir Lambekov and Cody Durden. Um, Tagir, obviously, um, very skilled, and I hate betting against anyone with whose name ends in Ev or Ov. Um, but I think Cody Durden in his performance against Jake Hadley, I'm not saying that Jake and Tagir are on the same level, but um, Jake was on a really big sort of hype train, I guess you could say, and Cody made him look absolutely silly in that last fight. So if Cody can pull out a performance like that, I'm going with him. Um, but he could get controlled on the ground. Who knows I'm going with Cody though. So Budai, Almeida, Durden so far. Casey O'Neill and Ariane Lipsky. There's another tough one to pick. Ariane Lipsky, a lot more experience, a lot more miles. Casey O'Neill, 9-1. She did not look very good against Jennifer Maya in her last fight. Not saying that Ariane Lipsky is Jennifer Maya by any stretch, but Lipsky does have KO power. Um, her shots seem to affect her opponents, maybe more so than Casey's, but I don't know. I saw it touted as the Battle of the Baddies in a Twitter post earlier, and I tend to not disagree with that. I'm very excited for this matchup. Uh, I'm gonna go with so Lipsky is good but inconsistent. I think Casey hopefully has been able to correct some of her mistakes from the Maya fight, and I'm gonna go with Casey O'Neill in this one. Cody Garbrandt and Brian Kelleher. This was a match made by like a fan matchmaker. I'm pretty sure in like a contest or some shit. But I'm long story short, love both of these guys. Hate to pick, but I'm I'm going with Cody only because I don't want to see him get get viciously knocked out again. Um, so I'm going with Cody on this one. Again, like he knows his own potential. It's just a matter of whether he can achieve that or whether he can avoid anything touching his chin. Um, Rene Aldana and Karel Hossa. Rene Aldana was the last one on the scales yesterday for the weigh-ins, so make of that what you will. She didn't look overly bad on the scales. Like she didn't look like she was like struggling or fucking in some cases we've seen people like fucking like almost fucking losing their legs on the scales while they're weighing in, but no, she didn't look too bad, and Karel Hossa hasn't really shown me anything impressive at all in her last fights. Like, yeah, she's fought some pretty dominating, boring fights, I guess, and she does have power. I'll give her that. When she connects, she similar to Lipsky, like you can tell that her opponent feels the strikes, like sometimes people connect and it's just sort of like, oh yeah, whatever, but the impact um is a little bit favoring Hosa, I think, but the precision and overall skill level I think is in Aldana's favor. So I'm going with Aldana for this one. Next, Alonzo Menafield and Dustin Jacoby. Um, Menafield, obviously a fucking just a beast, right? Um, sort of like a. I don't want to compare him to Ngannou, like a little Ngannou, but just like calculated chaos, is one way to put it. Whereas Dustin Jacoby has stronger kickboxing fundamentals. Um, if he can keep Menafield at a distance and stop him from enacting his game plan, which is going to be to storm in with big shots and land that knockout punch, likely. Um, I mean, if he's smart, he'll try to take him down and control on the ground, but um, yeah, I'm leaning towards Jacoby in this one. I think his kickboxing skill and fundamentals will be perhaps too much for Alonzo Menafield, so I'm leaning towards Jacoby ever so slightly. Josh Emmett, Bryce Mitchell, Ilya Tapuria's two last opponents. Not much to say here. Josh Emmett's old. He's coming off some pretty pardon me, serious injuries. I uh, I know he's got crazy knockout power. He's got good precision. He's strong in the clinch, but I don't know. It's all gonna be whether uh, Emmett can outmuscle Mitchell on the ground into an advantageous position, but Bryce is a wizard on the ground, um, and he's got pretty solid striking defense. So we'll see how that one goes. I'm leaning towards Bryce. Probably gonna get some sort of crazy post fight antics again, but yeah, leaning towards Bryce in that one. Uh, just Josh Emmett at 38, coming off those serious injuries. I uh, it's not out of the realm of possibility that Emmett connects and gets like a KO or TKO, but I think it's going to be a pretty dominant performance by Bryce Mitchell. Next, nobody's nobody's favorite fight on the card, the one that we're all. I think it's bittersweet for all of us, you know, because we know the likely outcome here, but if Tony can get it done, my good God, would that not be spectacular? Um, I don't hate on Pimblett as much as as much as the average North American, but damn, I've been following Tony since The Ultimate Fighter, and he's always been one of my favorite fighters throughout my mixed martial arts fandom. So it's sad to see him on a 6 fight losing streak, but I truly hope that he can pull out a victory here, exploit some of Patty's issues with striking defense, and hopefully outcraft him on the ground. You know, I'm rooting for Tony, but I realize that the odds makers are probably not too crazy in putting Patty at a sizable favorite. Next, Shavkat Rachmanov and Stephen Thompson. Another bittersweet affair here. Two guys that I like a lot. One sort of on the come up, other on the downstroke. We'll see how it goes. um, again, Shavkat is young and improving. You know, his fight against Jeff Neal wasn't the most impressive performance that I think we'll see from him, but it's a winnable fight on either side. Uh, Stephen Thompson obviously has legendary takedown defense, and legendary striking. So we'll see how Shavkat can manage that. Again, it's another one where the odds makers are severely leaning towards Shavkat. Um, again, I think there's a chance that Wonder Boy gets it done, but it's probably gonna go in Shavkat's favor. So I'm gonna go for Shavkat in that one. I don't think I made a definitive pick in Tony versus Patty because I don't want to, but uh, again, I want Tony to win. I'm gonna pick Tony to win, but I might make a backup parlay. We'll just say that. Um, and then on to the co-main, Royval Pantoja. It's it's a rematch. Pantoja got a rear naked choke on Royval in midway through the second round of their first fight. This one's 5 rounds. So if Royval can defend the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet for the most part, I think he does have a slight advantage. But if Pantoja is able to get him down at will, then it's going to go Pantoja's way, almost without a doubt. Again, I'm not ruling out the possibility of Pantoja getting clipped because he is sort of hittable at times. Um, and Royval's got really crisp striking, but he's also susceptible to those high level submission attempts, you know? I'm leaning towards Pantoja, and that's probably who I will pick, but again, I might make a backup parlay with Royval as the victor because that I'm pretty conflicted there, and Raw Dog's got a strong chance in this fight. Then the main event: Leon Edwards, Colby Covington. We haven't really seen anyone really lay into Leon, really push Leon's buttons like Colby was able to do at the press conference. So it's a matter of how much the emotions are going to play into it because they're already involved, you know, or if he can perhaps mitigate that or get around it to some extent, or mitigate the effect, you know, just sort of put it off to the side when he walks into the octagon. But man, it's another tough one to call. We know that Colby's got really good wrestling. Um, he's got cardio for days, but Leon is a scary dude. He's got incredible striking, and his takedown defense isn't the greatest, but he's shown on multiple occasions that that doesn't matter all that much. Um, I think if Colby's forced to strike with Leon, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for him, and Leon might be able to put him out. Yeah, and in all likelihood, I'm thinking Leon gets it done either by KO or decision. Uh, but I'm not discounting the possibility for the same thing to happen, either KO or submit or KO or decision in Colby's favor, depending on how Leon's cardio holds up. We know Colby's good for 5 rounds. Um, and we know Leon can really come back in the fifth after after getting beat up for 4. So it I'm leaning Leon, but he lets the emotions get to him too much, and it somehow affects his cardio. You know, he gets like too worked up too early, and oh man, I don't know. I feel like if Leon isn't patient and pushes too hard for the finish in rounds 1 and 2, I think 3, 4, and 5 are going to be really hard for him. But overall, I'm leaning Leon in this affair, and that concludes the UFC 296 breakdown. Last minute again. So just a little bit less than 6 hours away now from the early prelims. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I tried to keep this one brief, and I think I was pretty successful in that. I may have rambled at times. If I did, um, call me out on it in the comments. But yeah, love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Please leave a like, subscribe, all that stuff. And I will see you in the next one. All right. Bye bye.